Have you ever been in that situation where something just solid, something you thought was permanent, maybe even centuries old, suddenly starts, well, changing incredibly fast,
Mm,
especially when it hits something really fundamental like your home, how you pay for it?
yeah.
That's exactly the kind of seismic shift we're diving into today. We're looking at Seoul, South Korea, and this rapid evolution of its unique Johnson's housing system.
Like a big one.
So our mission here is to unpack these new 6.27 loan regulations. We want to see their immediate, tangible impact
Mm.
on landlords, on tenants, and really reveal the facts behind this incredibly fast shift away from Johnsy towards monthly rent, or WOLS.
Right.
We've got a stack of recent news, some big data from real estate firms, all from July 8, 2025, to guide us.
It really does feel like a fundamental change happening almost overnight. Let's unpack this.
Okay, and it's really important to understand just how deeply embedded Johnsy has been for
Yeah.
generations, I mean, in the Korean housing landscape.
So for anyone who might not know, Johnze, it isn't about paying rent each month.
Yeah.
Instead, you, the tenant, you give a large lump sum deposit to the landlord.
Huge sums sometimes.
Oh, huge.
Wow.
Often hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that deposit is fully returned when the contract ends. The landlord, essentially, they get an interest-free loan for a couple of years,
Okay.
which is, totally different from WOLS, that's just your standard monthly rent, or even Banjeonse, which is sort of a hybrid, smaller deposit plus monthly rent.
So this system, John says, it's been a cornerstone for centuries, you said.
Yeah, a cornerstone of housing finance there for a very long time.
So if it's been such a bedrock, what exactly are these 6.27 loan regulations doing? Why are they causing such a rapid, fundamental shift? Sounds like they're the main driver here.
Oh, they absolutely are. The government brought them in supposedly to stabilize the wire housing market,
Oh.
but their direct and pretty significant impact has been on Gini's loans for both landlords and tenants. And that's created this powerful ripple effect. It's basically created a strong push for both sides towards WOLS.
Huh. That's fascinating. Okay, let's start with the landlords then. What are the new challenges they're facing? What's pushing them to convert their Gene Z places to monthly rent?
Well, one of the biggest things is the loan that a new Gene tenant would normally use. Get that huge deposit together?
Yeah.
That's now effectively blocked for many. The government tightened the eligibility criteria so much, it's just incredibly difficult for a lot of people to get those funds now.
Ah, okay.
So you've got this sharp drop in the number of potential Gene Z tenants. Landlords who maybe counted on getting that big deposit, perhaps to pay their own mortgages,
Right.
they just can't find new Gene Z tenants as easily. So their alternative, convert to WOLS, often with a much smaller deposit, just so they can keep covering their own loan interest.
And it's not just about finding new tenants, is it? I read there are also big restrictions on landlords trying to get loans to return the deposits to their current tenants when they leave.
That's a really crucial point, yes. So for landlords who need to give back that big chunk of money, the deposit return loan they might have used, it now has a drastically lower limit.
How low?
For someone who owns just one home, it's capped at only 100 million won. That's roughly, 72,000 US dollars?
Okay, that's not insignificant, but maybe not the whole Gen Z amount.
Often not. But here's the real kicker. If a landlord owns 2 or more homes, they can't get this loan at all. Zero. Not for returning a Jones deposit.
Wow.
So, it really makes you ask, if they can't easily get a loan to return these huge deposits and they can't find new Jonesy tenants easily, what choice do they have? Monthly rent looks like the only viable path for many. It's a tough spot.
Wow, okay. So landlords are definitely feeling the squeeze from both ends, really. Okay, now that we understand their side, let's flip to the tenants. How are these rules hitting them, pushing them towards monthly rent?
For tenants, it's kind of a double hit. First, like we said, that key conditional Jeansy loan they might have used is now, almost impossible for many to get because of the stricter rules. Makes scraping together that huge deposit much harder.
Right, the upfront barrier just got higher.
Exactly. And second, this is also important, the GNC loan guarantee ratio has been lowered. It used to be 90%, now it's down to 80%.
Okay, what does that mean practically?
It means if, for whatever reason, the landlord doesn't return your GNC deposit, the government or the guarantee fund covers less of it, 80% instead of 90%. So the tenant is personally on the hook for a bigger chunk of that missing money, more risk.
And I guess that increased personal risk feels even bigger for certain types of properties, right? Probably creates more anxiety there.
Oh, absolutely. You see, Experts like Jang Sohee are pointing this out. There's a definite trend now. Tenants are increasingly avoiding Jeansy deals for non-apartment properties.
Like villas or office Ls.
Exactly, villas, office tools, precisely because they're worried about getting those massive deposits back. It was always a slight worry, maybe, but that fear is amplified now by these new loan rules and the lower guarantee.
So the two things combine.
Yes, and that combination is really speeding up this whole Wilsonization trend across the market. People are just getting pushed towards monthly rent.
So are we actually seeing this? Is it showing up in the market data already? What are the numbers telling us about Jeans versus Wolse listings right now?
We definitely are. The data from SIL, that's a real estate big data firm, from July 8th, so very recent. It paints a really clear picture. An immediate shift.
Okay.
For Seoul apartments specifically, Jeans listings actually went down by 78 cases. That's a 0.4% drop just in the 11 days between June 27th and July 8th, right after the rules hit.
11 days. Okay, that's quick. Endless.
Wolse listings, in that same short period, they jumped by 411 cases. That's a 2.1% increase.
Wow, a 2.1% jump in Wolse listings in just over a week. That is incredibly fast. Are there like specific examples, maybe a building or an area that really shows this?
Yeah, there's a really vivid one. The Mapleshee apartment complex in Seochogu. It's huge, massive complex. Only started moving people in last month.
Okay, brand new, basically.
Brand new. And already nearly 47.8% of its, 3,300 units are listed as Wolse monthly rent.
Nearly half already.
Yeah. For standard, say, 84 square meter unit there, you're looking at maybe 100 million in one deposit, but then a monthly rent between 4.8 million and 6 million won, which is pretty substantial.
Definitely.
And a real estate agent near there basically confirmed it. Said with those conditional GS loans blocked now, many owners are just lowering the deposit they asked for and switching to monthly rent. Why? Just to cover their own loan interest payments. It's a direct reaction.
Makes sense. It's a chain reaction.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've seen it in individual places in the daily listing numbers. What about the sort of the broader market vibe, the overall Jeans transaction index? What's happening there?
Yeah, the bigger picture shows a definite cooling, a downturn in Jones activity. KB Real Estate Stats show the Jonesy Transaction Index, which basically measures how active deals are. It dropped sharply. By 9.5 points, it fell to 30.2 right after the regulations, down from 39.7 just before.
So a lower number means fewer deals happening.
Exactly. Significantly less active Jones transactions. It shows a real shift in how people are interacting with the market, even though, in some specific areas, the actual supply of Jonesy units might still be tight. The activity has slowed.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here. It's an incredibly fast transformation. If we were to quickly tie it all together for you listening, what are the absolute key takeaways from these 6.27 loan regulations and their immediate hit?
Right. If we pull all these threads together, the 6.27 loan regulations have basically created this pincer movement on the Jonesy system. They've really tightened the screws on landlords.
How's it going?
Making it super difficult to find new Jeansy's tenants because their loans are blocked, and then making it almost impossible for landlords, especially multi-homeowners, to get the loans they need to return the old deposits.
Okay, and for tenants, it's that double whammy, right?
Exactly. A double whammy.
Right.
Much harder for them to get the loans they need for the big Jeansy deposit in the first place. And crucially, significantly more personal risk because that government guarantee on the loan is lower.
Which feeds that anxiety, especially for non-apartments.
Right. And the data just lays out the economic fallout, doesn't it? The pulse of the GC's market, that transaction index, basically flatlined, dropped nearly 10 points almost overnight.
Wow.
And what's really telling is the snowball effect. That monthly rent conversion rate, climbing steadily, hit 5.5%. More and more places just switching from GC to Wolse.
And the direct result for tenants?
Well, average monthly rents in Seoul, they've been rising for over 2 years straight now, 27 consecutive months, up 84,001 in just the last 6 months alone, hitting over 1.4 million won by May 2025.
While Jans deposits are actually shrinking.
While the average Johnston deposit is shrinking, hit 194.5 million won in May. It's a total flip. A complete inversion of how things traditionally worked.
So what does this all point to for the future of housing in Seoul? I mean, looking ahead.
Well, it seems pretty clear that tenants are going to continue being pushed into monthly rent, just as experts like Kim Jae-kyung and Jang So-hee predict.
Right.
And this increased demand for Wolse, well, it's inevitably going to lead to further price hikes for monthly rent. This isn't just, a minor adjustment. It feels like a fundamental reset of the housing market in Seoul, big financial changes for everyone.
Mm. Which really raises a pretty important question, doesn't it? As such a unique, such a foundational housing system like Jhansi undergoes this kind of rapid transformation, what broader societal or maybe economic shifts might we see unfold, not just in Seoul, maybe, but in other major cities around the world that are also grappling with housing affordability and policy interventions?